I guess I'm part of the generation that used to read comics in the papers. I think papers are going away. So I'm a clipper too, so when I find something good, I always clip it out. This is an old one from Mother Goose and Grimm. How many know Mother Goose and Grimm? You guys, I like those. So the cartoonist writes, sure, I'm just a flea, but fleas have thoughts too, you know. Sometimes on nights like these, I think about the universe. I think about turning on my clicker. I wonder why we're here. What purpose do we serve? What is the meaning of life? Is there really a dog? So not only just what's fun about this is it's not just the wordplay here of dog and God, but that they're standing on his nose and you got these two big eyeballs pointed right at you and you're wondering if there's really a dog. Well, we can feel like this quite a bit here, right? What are all those? We have God questions in our life. This is for everybody. This is church folks. This is non-church folks. Everybody kind of has these big thoughts, these big ideas, these wonderings, right, that are kind of deep in our gut. No matter really what background you come from, it is kind of a natural human instinct to just kind of wonder, right? To ask the big questions. And so this series is going to be asking some of the big questions and talking about that and working through this together. Today we're going to start off with, is God real? Is God real? Now, a lot of people have been trying to answer this for a long time, and there's kind of four main camps, let's say. Four main categories of how people have generally responded to something like this. There is the folks that went, and this is kind of a later development, people that go, you know what, we've looked behind the curtain, we've gone into outer space, we looked into the chair, and it was empty. There's nothing out there. There's nothing. There is no God. There's no higher power. There's no greater being. There's just us. There's just kind of the universe. There's the sticks and the stones that kind of make up the thing, and that's it. It's a big, empty room. And usually what's kind of put as a point on this is that, and we're really smart for saying this. And you know it's true. They go, this is the intelligent answer. Everybody else that comes up with some other type of answer to this is somehow, tricked or deluded. And we are the ones that really, really see it for what it is. And it's an amazing picture because this is the glory of the conclusion that there is nothing beyond. And it's this: you're on your own. Good luck. That's it. That's the bumper sticker that atheism gets. You're on your own. A lot of people kind of come to this conclusion because they're unhappy with other people's conclusions on God, that we want to think about a good God. We're like, oh, there's all this awful stuff in the world, so we're going to throw out God. And guess what? Not a whit of our situation has changed, and their blessing to you is you are on your own. That's it. I hope it works out well for you. If it doesn't, oh well, because there isn't anything else. So that's the glory of thinking, okay, well, that's an answer out there. Now, Daniel Radcliffe, you guys know who Daniel Radcliffe is? He's Harry Potter. He's been growing up, so he has a little bit of a juice. He says, look, I don't expect there to be a God. He was an atheist. He says, or an afterlife, but I would be pleasantly surprised if there were. Now he says this because he admitted, this is just a recent article this year at the Washington Globe. He talked about, he says, when he was younger, when he was a teenager, he was one of those kind of arrogant atheists that like to poke at people and go, really, there's nothing there. You're just deluded. You're just being stupid. You don't really know what's going on out there. If you had the guts and the mental fortitude, if you were an independent thinker, you would think like me. And he says, I was that way. But then as I grew older, I started recognizing the power of some of my friends' faith that helped them through hard times, and that how real it was for them. Now, it didn't convince him, but he took this next step. He now claims him to be in the second category. It's called being an agnostic. And it's kind of a position that goes, who knows? I'm not going to say that there isn't, but I'm not saying that there is either. In fact, I'm not just not answering, I'm going, it's kind of unknowable. Who can really, really know? You can believe it, you cannot believe it, but that's really just a guess. It's kind of a question that can't be answered. I heard a Christian comedian, when he studied in college and found out this category, his jaw hit the floor. He said, man, if I had only known that this was a category, this could have really helped me out in math class. Professor, that's a really good question. But I'm just taking a position that I think it's just kind of an unknowable answer. I'm not really going to work on this. I'm a math agnostic here, right? But at least there's some honesty here, isn't there? Of going, atheism, to say there is no God is to say, I know everything there is to be known, and there is nothing beyond us. That's actually a rather incredible claim, especially when science is built on the idea of going, we don't know everything. We're still learning. There's still more to be known, and yet they've come to a conclusion. So there's a certain amount of honesty with this, of going, you know what? I don't know. I'm going to just kind of go about my life. You believe what you want to believe. I'll believe what I want to believe. Radcliffe goes on to say, the problem I have is when, what you believe wants to start telling other people how to live. And that sounds right. But I'm telling you right now, every group, no matter what you believe, what religion you are, what party you are, what view you have on life, has this idea of what's right and wrong. And once you cross one of their wrongs, they are very, very happy to tell you how to live. So this has its limits here of going, I don't know, but I don't want to tell anybody. But really, we're going to act like I do know something. Now, there was a lady that came out with a book. She's a PhD. She's married to a physicist that has done extensive work in that field in science. And she had an interesting experience. Very intelligent, very capable people, but she developed an eating disorder. And she couldn't kick it. With all of her abilities, with all of her intelligence, with all of her affluence, she just couldn't quite get past it. And so she took this dramatic step. She joined a 12-step program. Now, if you know a 12-step program, one of the core principles is for you to recognize that there is a higher power and you need its help, right? It doesn't necessarily define who that is, but it's going to go, we recognize that you have to recognize that there's somebody else greater. She went to this is an affront to everything that she believes. She was kind of atheistic, at least agnostic, of going, I don't know what's really out there. And here she is with a personal problem that she could not get past. She could not conquer. And she was being asked to believe in something that she didn't. She did the program. She went, I'm going to swallow my pride. I'm going to do the program. And here's the amazing thing. It worked for her. And she was left with this big dilemma of going, wait a minute. I'm going, there is no higher power. There is nothing else out there. We're on our own. But when I recognized, even though I really don't have any type of faith, when I recognized that there's something more, it rescued me out of a place I couldn't rescue myself. So she wrote a book. I do not advocate this book, but listen to this. This is a great title. Ready? A God that could be real, right? That could be real. She's not there yet. Don't go and buy her book, please. She comes up with some crazy, crazy ideas here. But how about that? Somebody that is married to somebody that is on the cutting edge of astrophysiology and kind of working with dark matter and all this that goes, it's a mechanical universe. It's just us. We can figure everything out on our own. We don't need anything. Ran headlong into a wall of going, I cannot fix myself. I had to swallow my pride and recognize something that I don't want to believe in. And it works. It worked. And so she's searching. She's going, okay, I got to recognize that there's something out there. I just don't know quite what. And so that's a third category of how people could believe is it's called deism. It's going, you know what? It's just undeniable that there is something more to this. That to go, this just happened by accident, is frankly just kind of silly. We go, there is something there. Obviously, there's something bigger, there's something greater. But you know what? We just don't quite want to believe that he is engaged. It's kind of an absentee God. He's out to lunch. He might be back. Maybe not. Who knows? He kind of set this thing up. So one of the ways that they talk about this is to go, we imagine God to be just kind of a clockmaker, right? You make the clock. We recognize the intelligence, the design into this whole system. We go, man, there was something really, really smart here. But once he gets it going, he winds it up. And what does he do? He walks away from it. And that's what they kind of imagine God has done. We can't deny that there's something more, but we're really not going to go, he's involved. Now, whether you kind of go, think about this philosophically or not, a lot of us can live that way, right? This is the language that we use of going, we recognize the big guy in the sky, right? The big guy up there. But we really kind of run our lives as though he has nothing to say. He has no involvement. We just kind of go, yeah, all right, there's a higher power. There's something else out there. But I'm going to live as though I'm really on my own. Because he's absent. He's out to lunch. He left the building. He's out playing golf. Don't ask him for help. He's not going to come through. And so then we get to the final category, the category that we're in. We would go, we're theism, we're theists. We go, you know what? God is real. He is here. We can know him in some way. Now, this is a big category. There's a lot of different groups in this category. So understand, this isn't just we're talking about Christianity. There's a number of groups in here of going, God is real. And usually the groups that are in here come out with a great moral order, come out with going, there's a right way and a wrong way to live. We need to live by truth and justice and kindness and compassion. There is a consistency here with that. There is a belief that we're going, God can be engaged. He's here, he's present. He's not out to lunch. He hasn't forgotten us. He hasn't abandoned us. He has in some way present, and they think about that in different ways. This is the category that we're in. So those are your kind of four general categories here, right? We've got those that go, it's an empty room. Those that are going, I don't know. Do whatever you want. I hope that works out for you. We got those that go, okay, fine. There's got to be something. It's undeniable, even if I don't want to believe it, but by golly, somehow it's true. And then there are those that just kind of fully embrace it. So I wonder what category you're in. Really honestly, what category? And I'm not just asking that in terms of your thinking here. Let's not make this just kind of a academic room of going, how do I relate to God? Because I may not call myself an atheist, but live a life that acts like God doesn't even exist. I can live a life that goes, who knows, you do whatever you want, I'll do whatever I want, there's nothing to be known. Or God is checked out. Or God has ruined my life. These are the questions. These are the big questions that everybody wrestles with. It doesn't take going to church to wrestle with them. They're inescapable, really. They're in our gut. They're in our DNA. That's one of the things that atheists have to kind of run against here of going, this is the only obvious conclusion. And yet the history of humanity, every people group wrestles with this question. Is there something more? Is God real? Is built into our DNA. That has to be considered. Now, oftentimes it's put as a question, does God exist? Right? We could look through those. But that's really not the question, is it? That's part of the question, but that's not really the question here. Because I could answer this and it not mean a thing. Because guess what? I can answer this question for, let's say, the planet Saturn. I've never been there. I've never touched it. I have never seen it through a telescope. But by golly, I'm definitely in the camp of going, Saturn exists. I believe it. It's in the science books. I've seen pictures of it from somebody else. I believe it. I am a firm Saturnist, okay? I'm all in. Does it mean a thing to my life? Not one whit. I never think about Saturn when I'm going to make a decision. I don't think about I don't call up Saturn when I'm sitting in the line at McDonald's. What should I eat today? Just answering the question if something exists or not isn't really the point. Isn't the bigger question to say, is God real? Is he someone to be engaged? Is he someone to be reached? Is he more, instead of like Saturn, more like this apple? Not worried about whether the apple is real or not. I know it is. But, man, it's here. It's now. It's in my hand. If I eat it, it's going to nourish my body. It is part of my life. That's the question that we need to answer today, or at least start to approach. Not whether you believe whether God exists, as though this is some type of academic exercise, but is God real to you? Is he a part of your life? And to what extent? Now, the good news is I've got the silver bullet. With this one talk today, and in the next 30 seconds, I'm going to give you something that so nobody can walk out of here without knowing that God is real. Don't you wish that were true? I wish it were true. It would make my job a whole lot easier, right? Dag nabbit, there's no silver bullet. I had a friend that I was talking to. I worked with him. He's like, he would sit down, we'd have good conversation. He's like, give me the one thing that would just absolutely prove God, that would just make me have to believe. And I'm going, I don't have it. There isn't that one thing. It's not a wrestling match. I can't make you believe. There's no equation that's going to force your participation with this. It's just the wrong type of relationship there. It's something more. It's something deeper. This isn't about just coming to a conclusion. That's answering the question, does God exist? But we're asking the bigger question, is God real? That's going to take faith. Faith is a lot bigger than, one key lever, one formula. It is an all-inclusive thing. Now, a lot of people will go, oh, yep, see, that's exactly the problem with this. What you're asking me to do is to be blind and stupid and dumb and just take it for what you tell me. I can't look at anything. I just have to accept it. Faith at its basis is really just blind. I'm here to tell you today, there's nothing more, what did I want to tell you? There is nothing more untrue. Faith is not blind. It's just that faith isn't scared of the things that we don't know. Faith can know quite a few things. Faith embraces everything about us. In fact, there are kind of 4 things about faith here. I was going to go deep into this, but I decided not to today. But I wanted to let you know that it really engages every part of us, because it's not about a blind leap. It is about this trust relationship, right? That's how the people do. I'm just blindly jumping off and hoping something good happens. No, it's understanding that there's something at stake here. And to be honest, this is the way most of life is. So faith has a rational component to it. We need to do some of that hard work of kind of going through the reasons. We don't have time for that today. That's a big conversation. People think faith is irrational, and it's not. Now, it's not rational like science, where I have this in a box and I control it. Do you know why it's not like that? Not because it's weak, but because God is so great. We don't have a box to put him in. We can't control him. But God doesn't ask us to check our minds at the door. There's an emotional component to belief. You know how I know this? Because you would be amazed at how many people don't believe, not for a rational reason, but for an emotional one. Remember, this was about 15 years ago, I think 15, 20 years ago. There was a big court case up in Massachusetts. A girl found a plaque that had been given like 50 years earlier of the Lord's Prayer hanging in her school. It was not even in a prominent place. It was a kind of off in a side area near the gym. And she took an affront to that. And then, the atheists came along and went, yeah, we got to have separation of church and state. And they had this big fight about it. And people were like, good night, this was just a gift. How could anybody have a problem with this? And it finally got taken down. And everybody, the people on that side were going, yeah, see, this is a win for rationality. This is a win for being smart. Then the rest of the story came out on this girl. You know how she got to this place where she was offended by that? Her mom got sick. She went to church. She prayed. Her mom did not get better, and she lost her mom. That had nothing to do about rationality. That's a wound. Because this belief thing is not just asking a question of does God exist, but is he real? Can I trust him? Of course there's going to be an emotional part of that. We're going to work on some of that later on in this series. It has a spiritual component of just kind of recognizing something is bigger, just like Nancy Abrams discovered and going, my training tells me this, but my life undeniably tells me there's something more here. The popular thing is to go, well, I can be spiritual on my own and not be connected. But really, for God to be real, it is all about the connection. The final part of faith is that it's really willful, because it's not a wrestling match. It's not about forcing you or anyone else to believe. There is this place that you have to make a choice. See, my friend would tell me, look, Noel, you have to prove to me God beyond a reasonable doubt, right? That's how our justice system works. The weight is on you. You have to prove it so that I can't deny it. I can't have one mistake here. Yep, that's right. Our justice system does work like that because we want to be so careful of not getting the wrong person in jail or punished. But how does the rest of our life work? If I take you to civil court, it's not beyond a reasonable doubt. What is it? On the preponderance, on the weight of evidence. You know why we do that? Because everything in our life runs that way. How did you pick who you were going to marry? Did you discover that beyond a reasonable doubt? Could you make a proof of that? No, you took your best guess. You were like, I've dated, we've gone out, we've asked hard questions, we saw them in different situations, and you made a huge life choice. You were binding your life together for the rest of your years. Because you took what you did know and said, yeah, that's enough to act. No different here than faith. Don't have to answer every question. Don't have to fill every slot. There's a place where you have to choose, though. That's what Paul ran into back in the first church. It says, from morning till evening, the Apostle Paul explained to them the things about God and tried to convince them about Jesus. Some were convinced by what he said, but others would not believe. There is a choice here to be made. The question before you is to go, you can stay where you're at. Look at those 4 categories. This is the category I'm in, and I'm just content to be here. You got to live with what that category gives you. You're on your own in 3 of those, right? God's checked out. Who knows? There ain't nobody. Good luck. If Nancy Abrams had stuck to her guns on that, she'd still be fighting an eating disorder. There's one that says God is engaged. And this is the standard that Scripture gives us. Watch this. The writer of Hebrews says this. It's impossible to please God apart from faith. Faith is the way that we engage him. Why? Because anyone who wants to approach God must believe 2 things. 2 things. One, that he exists. No, duh. We're not, you're not going to believe in somebody that doesn't exist. That he exists. He's there. But that he cares enough to respond to those that seek him. He's engaging. He's here for you. He's real. He's not far off. He's not just Saturn. He's not just a concept. He's not just something that, it's neat to talk about at church or read in a book. It doesn't matter anything to me. He wants to be real in your life. That's what really faith is about. Not just having an apple, but engaging the apple, right? Eating it, letting it nourish you, let it satisfy you. So here's my challenge to you. No matter where you're at, maybe you go, man, I'm already there. I'm in that camp. That's great. That's great. But no matter where category you might identify with, I want to challenge you to go, how about stepping closer? There's a challenge for you to go, maybe you're not convinced yet. All right, that's fine. That's fine. But how about giving God a chance? How about laying down a challenge for God? God, I want you, if you're real, I want you to show up for me. I want you to show yourself to me. Not by what I want to do. Because if I did that, it would be obviously, God, as bad as the Steelers are, let us win the Super Bowl. I can't do that. I can't do that. God doesn't work that way. He could make that miracle happen, but he doesn't work on that way. But go, God, if you're real, I'm going to give you an honest chance. I'm going to open myself up. Not just in terms of whether you exist or not, but letting you into my life, right? I'm going to let you be real to me. That's the question to be answered. Let's pray. Father, you made us. You love us. and you want to be found. You want to be known because we need you. That's the way you made us. We're your children, and you want to be engaged in our lives. I pray, Lord, that you would become real, more real to each of us, no matter where we're at in our faith journey, that we'd take a step further of going, you're not just an idea. You're real to me. You have plans for me. And you have hope for me. You have purpose for me. I'm not on my own. Help us, Lord, to embrace that faith, to know you. Amen.